We are going to be starting in Photoshop, and I wanted to, we're going to do a quick review of what we talked about when we did the labeling sheet, and then we're going to dive into our first lesson. So a review from our previous labeling, you want to make sure you know where your menu bar is. Your menu bar is up here at the very top. It has your Photoshop, the file, edit menus. That's where you get additional help on options that you have. You also have your toolbar. Your toolbar is always on the left unless you have moved it. It should always be on the left. The tools, you click on them. If you click and hold, there are tools behind it that are called hidden tools. And if there are hidden tools, you'll see the little tiny arrow. If you hover over a tool, it'll tell you what it is. It also will allow you to do like a tutorial video as well. You can customize your toolbar however you want it to be. You can also make it to where it's in 2 columns by pushing the double arrow, or 1. I prefer to have it in 1 just because I like to have as much workspace as possible. Then at the very top, as long as you're clicked on a tool, any tool, you'll get an option bar. And your option bar will change based on the tool you have selected. So I'm going to click on the brush tool for an example, and it gives me my paintbrush tools. I don't need to know my text when I'm trying to paint. So that's why they give you a specific bar, your option bar, to pick your options for that specific tool. Then you have your canvas or your workspace, work area. It's the space in the middle wherever your image is at. You can have a blank one. You can have the image that you open. You also have the window menu. So up here on your menu bar, you have a menu called Window. And Window allows you to turn on and off certain panels on your dock. And I'll explain the dock in a minute. But it turns on and off panels. So if something over here, this is your dock, if something on your dock goes away, you can put it back on with your window. Under the window, you have an arrange menu. And that allows you, if you have multiple tabs open, it allows you to view those tabs in different ways. So that way you can work on each picture or just one at a time. On your dock, you have your color panel. Actually, you have a color group. It's your color and swatches. So depending on which one you prefer to look at, sometimes we'll look at swatches, sometimes we'll look at color. If yours doesn't show the RGB and you want it to, you can click on the 3 arrows. That gives you a menu specific for that, and you can change your color panel to look however you want it to look. Primarily, the one I use is RGB, but you can use any of these depending on what you're trying to do with Photoshop. You also have the history panel. History panel is very important because if I happen to create and paint all over my picture and I need to undo all of that, it's a place that shows you every action you've taken on your image. So it tracks up to, I think it's 20 unless you've set your setting different. So every 20th action, 1 goes away. So as you keep going, and then you can go back and undo as much or as little as you want. So that's the quick and easy way to undo things. I keep my history panel open almost as often as I keep my layers panel, which your layers panel shows you different layers within your image as you are putting things together and compiling a full image. So what we're doing in this lesson, that was just your review. what we're doing in this lesson is we are going to actually retouch the photo that's here in front of you. You get this photo by going to your Google Classroom and downloading. So my Google Classroom has a different view, but you will have all of these options, and you will need to make sure that you download all of these images so that way you can use them for either the lecture or your assignments that come up following your lecture. So we are going to retouch or fix this image. And how much retouching you do to an image depends totally on the picture itself. So for example, this one kind of needs to be straightened out because it was scanned in from an old photo. It's also got a crease right down the middle. You know, old pictures, we couldn't remove people that weren't part of the family. So this is the main part that we want to worry about. So we're actually going to remove this random person from our picture. So it just depends. Things that you can do for retouching images. I know I sometimes do photography and I touch up images of ones that I've taken, but tasks of re-imaging, it's always good to duplicate the original. So that way you can always recover the original image in case you accidentally mess up or save it. Ensure the resolution. So resolution is always the first step. Ensure the resolution is appropriate for the way you're going to use the image. You can always crop an image, remove any color casts, adjust overall contrast, or the tonal range of an image. You can repair flaws. So, for example, the crease that we're going to fix. And sharpen an image. So those are just some examples. So the first thing is resolution. Resolution is always a big thing. Old school cameras, like the one that probably took this photo, did not have high resolution. The cameras that we have today have wonderful resolution. And I mean, the resolution within an iPhone camera is so good that I know some friends that have photography and love to take pictures when they're on vacation and take really awesome images, but they don't want to take their big bulky camera. So they just use their iPhone and get just as good of quality images as they would if they took their big camera. So resolution refers to the number of pixels per unit of physical length. So pixels per inch. So how many pixels are in that picture per 1 inch of picture? A low resolution is when your pixel per inch or PPI value is below 150 to 200. Factors such as viewing distance and output technology influence the resolution on our eyes to what we actually see. So sometimes our eyes distort resolution as well. So let's go ahead and get started. You want to make sure that you have this file open. If you don't have it open, you're going to go to File, Open, and you're going to find where you downloaded the image. I'm going to strongly suggest that you create a folder on your desktop that is called Digital Design. So you click on your desktop. You can do that when you download, and work in and out of that folder. So everything for this class is in that folder on your desktop. Right now I'm working off of different flash drives. So my photo is actually within one of my flash drives. So it's right here, and then you just click open. So you find the picture and you open it. And the first thing that we want to do is we want to save it. We want to make sure that we have a one place for it to save. So that way, as we're working through, and we can easily find it later. So that's why I strongly suggest that you create a digital design folder on your desktop. So let's go to File and Save As. And over here on the left, find desktop. We're going to change our format from a TIFF image to a Photoshop image. We're also going to create a new folder, and you can name it Digital Design. And then click Create for that folder. And you can save this as lecture, or I'm going to leave it as 02 start. And I'm going to save. So the first thing we want to do is click the crop tool. So our crop tool allows us to trim off unwanted edges. Do not try to, you want to crop this boy out of this picture. You cannot use the crop tool to crop that boy out. You could, but it would distort the image a little bit or make it a lot smaller than what you originally intended. So the crop tool really only gets rid of unwanted sides. So then with your crop tool selected, we want to change our tool or our options bar to be WH resolution. And we're going to change the top up here to say 7 by 7 and 200 pixels per inch. And you hit enter. That sets our ratio up so that way we can easily get our ratio. So now we need to straighten our image. So the best way to do that is to click straighten on the option bar, and it gives you now a ruler. Notice that my ruler or my mouse changed to a little ruler and a plus sign. And we're going to click and hold on the top left of the picture and drag across to the top right. And you always, with this ruler option, you want to follow the slant of the picture. So then once you release your mouse, it straightened the image just enough. So then you can use this if you scan in an image and it slightly shifts, or say your camera was tilted just a little bit when you went to take a photo, you can also use it to straighten it as well. So now we want to click and drag the handles in till there is no more white space around the photo. Once you have your space set in your crop section exactly where you want it, go ahead and press enter. It automatically gets rid of all of that white space and changes to just the section you want. This time, let's go ahead and we're going to save so we don't lose the work that we've done. So you can do File, Save, or Command S. If you're on the PC, you can do a Control S. With the crop tool, crop tools are one of those that when you set the options on the option bar, when you get done, it's always good to reset the tool so that way the next time you bring in a picture, you're not automatically jumped into a solution or put into a solution for the crop tool. So we're going to reset our crop tool. So to do that, you change you click on the image next on the option bar, and then there's this gear to the right of the drop down menu, and then you click on that and you click reset tool. And what that does is it clears out all of the settings that you have given it, so that way next time when you go into crop an image, it is totally fresh and new. So that way you don't have to be restricted to the same settings you used the last time. So now we're going to switch gears a little bit and we're going to adjust the cone and color of the image. So notice how this image is not necessarily as white as it should be. So we're going to change and hopefully brighten that up bring it into the 21st century, bring it up in resolution and color that we would see with images that we would take today versus whenever this picture was taken. So I'm going to go ahead and click on my move tool first, just so I don't accidentally try to crop this image again. I'm going to zoom in on the little girl with the white stripes, or you can do the mother, either one. And I'm just going to use my 2-finger zoom on my MacBook. Otherwise, you have a zoom tool here, and you can click and drag in and out, left or right, whether or not you're going to go in and out. Or down here on the option or on the status bar at the very bottom, you can also type in a setting that you want to change. So on our window, we want to go to window on the menu bar, and you want to make sure that there's a check mark next to adjustments. We want to see our adjustments panel. So our adjustments panel is right here. Looks like this, has several different icons we can click on. The first one we want to click on is the curves, and it looks like a graph with the curved line on it. And we're going to click on the white point tool. So the white point tool is right here. And what it does is it gives a sample of what, or tells Photoshop that this should be white. It needs to be white, and it's not right now. So we're going to click on that tool. And we're going to click on one of the stripes of the dress to make it white. So notice how it automatically brightened the image. So now we want to zoom out to notice how bright the image has become. Now we want to change the levels a little bit more and change the color and tone, balance it out a little bit better. So we're going to click on levels within the adjustment panel. So levels, notice the white and the shadows and everything. You can see all of the different, how the color works together. We want to change these 3 boxes underneath. This is your shadows area. This is kind of any color between black and white. And then highlights are your whites in your image. So we want to make this first one a 15. We want to do a 0.9 on the midtones. And then we're going to leave the last one at 255. So that's the amount of white in the picture. Now I'm going to collapse this panel just so we can see the picture as a full option. I'm also going to do a Command 0 or Control 0 or a view fit on screen. So that way we can see the whole image. The next thing I'm going to do is notice how in our layers panel we gained a couple of layers. That just shows us what we did to make it balance out. So here's our original image. If you click the eyeballs, it turns on and off the layers. So this now shows us what we've changed to the image. And I don't see us going back and trying to change it again. So we want to make sure that we flatten our image to put all those layers together so we don't accidentally change them again. So go up to Layer on your menu bar and click Flatten Image. Now that you are on, we can see the whole picture, the color is all balanced out. Now we can really see some errors within our image. And we want to first use our spot healing brush to be able to fix that. My spot healing brush is hidden behind my patch tool, but I'm going to find the Band-Aid with the little circle around it. That's my spot healing brush. Then on your option bar, you are going to change the little setting. So this setting right here. I'm going to start with a size of 25 and a hardness of a 100%. You also want to make sure that you have content aware selected. So we want it to fix with what content aware means. It's going to find the pixels that are around it and repair that part of the image based on content. So now that in my working space, I'm going to try to work over the image. My problem is that I feel like my brush is a little small. So if you can kind of see, it looks like it's a little smaller than the crease. So I'm going to use my right bracket, which is the two keys next to the P on the keyboard, and make my size a little bit bigger to kind of start dragging over that crease. You may want to do it in short little spurts. You don't want to do it all at once. And I'm going to only do like the big sections with this big of a brush, and then I'll go back and do the smaller sections. So now I'm going to do the wall with my spot healing brush, and I'm going to make it smaller because I don't want it to be totally noticeable that I've changed something, but I still want to be able to see that it's gone. And I'm going to make it even smaller again and do this bridge part right here. So now I've completely gotten rid of that crease within the photo. If you happen to mess up and you want to go back and try it again, you can always use your history panel and go back to where we flattened the image and start over. So now we want to use our patch tool. And our patch tool is hidden behind our spot healing brush. So I'm going to click and hold on the toolbar, click on patch tool. I'm going to change the options on the option bar to be content aware and a structure of 4. The structure gives allowance of how closely you need to match the original. Then I'm going to use my 2-finger zoom on my trackpad to zoom in on this boy right here. Now I'm going to click and hold and drag around this shadow and the boy as best as I possibly can. You don't want to do like one big, huge, narrow area or large area because we only have a small portion to where we can drag from. So I've clicked and dragged and gone all the way around. So now it has the dancing ants around it. We're going to click and hold within that selected area, and we're going to drag to the left. So we have to be careful not to get into the mother area, but we also want to be able to get the boy out of the image completely. So now you can see kind of some discrepancies that we need to fix within our image. So first and foremost, we've got to be able to bring this down. Now, if I was watching, I'm going to undo. You don't have to do this, but if you watch closely, you can better match where things go, so you don't have as much to fix in your image once you get done. So notice how the wall, I'm really trying to keep the wall in line with each other when I fix it. So now really all I have to fix with a different tool that we're going to do in a minute is this section right here above the head. So now I am going to do a select, deselect, or command D that deselects anything. And I'm also going to save our progress so far. So the last tool that we need to talk about is the clone stamp tool. So on the toolbar it looks like a rubber stamp. So, and that's your clone stamp tool. A little bit of basic difference between what they do. So the spot healing brush takes the pixels around where you're selecting and fixes your image. The patch tool, you select an area, then you drag that selection to where you want to pick pixels from to fix the selected area. The clone stamp tool, as we're going to see, you are going to set the sample area yourself, and then you're going to drag over to fix the part of the image that you're wanting to fix. So it's a little different. They're all different, but they all do basically the same thing. One is easier to do certain things than others. So with our clone stamp tool, we're going to come up here and change our settings on our options bar. So you're going to want a size 60 pixel brush. You want your hardness to be 30%. And make sure there's a check mark next to a line. So now the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to fix the area up here on this part of the image. So I'm going to kind of sample this area right here where my mouse is at. So I'm going to press the Option or Alt button, depending on if you're Windows or Mac, and I'm going to click. That just set my sample area. So now as I move over this part that needs fixed, I can see where I'm sampling and I can easily drag across. So I can also do it down here as well. My hope is that we can match kind of the pillars so we don't really notice that we've messed it up. So now I'm going to set a new sample area. I'm also going to make my brush a little bit smaller. So I'm going to set my sample area, I think right here is where I'm going to do it. And press my Alt key again. And I'm just going to kind of drag. It's not fixing the way I want it. So I'm going to actually fix this part first. So I'm going to set my sample area down here. So if you can see. And then I'm going to drag it across to kind of fix my image. Now, you may have to reset your sample area several times to get that to work. Notice I'm resetting my sample area again, kind of starting over. This part of the picture is so hard to know what was really behind there. Another way we could do it is you can actually sample like right here and kind of go down to kind of make the same image. but with not knowing what's really behind there, you just want it to look like it's not out of place. Another place you may have to fix on your image is right here where the shadow was at. I think I'm going to leave mine and just do a Command 0 because you can tell a little bit, but it doesn't look any different than if you look over here on this part of the wall. So it just looks like the same patterns in there twice, which is not that big of a deal. Notice the fixing that we did on this part. You can tell a little bit, but really if we didn't know that we fixed it, you're not going to know that you fixed it. So once you've done all of that, you've got all of your areas fixed. You're going to go and save. You're also going to want to make sure that you fit to screen. So Command 0 or view, fit to screen. And now I'm going to click on my move tool just so I don't accidentally mess something else up. We want to, now we're going to sharpen the image. We're going to make it look really, really sharp and crisp, kind of like it would be if we took it with today's cameras. So to do so, let's zoom in to almost 400% on this boy's shirt, or somewhere right in here. Notice I'm a little more than 400%, but you start to see kind of dust particles and color particles that weren't there originally. So we need to fix that. So the first thing we're going to do is click on Filter on the menu bar, and we're going to click or hover over Noise, and then click on Dust and Scratches. We're going to accept this information. So you can see now that we've already set some sample area, or not sample area, sorry. Now that we have this preview option, you can take the preview off. Notice how in this little screen, you don't see this option. So now click the preview. We're going to accept these original default options and click OK. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to sharpen the image just one step further. We're going to go to Filter, hover over Sharpen, and we're going to sharpen or Smart Sharpen. We're going to change these settings. So the amount needs to be 60. Radius is 1.5. And then our reduced noise of 10. The other settings we're just going to keep as default. We're going to click OK. We're going to do a fit on screen. So I just did Command 0. So now our image, and I'm just going to show you real quick. If I go to my history panel and go all the way to the top, this is where we started. And now this is what we have. The picture looks so much better. It doesn't have an extra person in it. There is no unwanted crease in the middle of the picture. It looks so much better with just a few simple edits that we have to do. So now make sure you have saved. The last thing I'm going to have you do, I'm also going to make you go File, Save As. And you're going to save this as well as a JPEG. You have to save it as a JPEG to be able to upload it to your Wix portfolio. So save as a JPEG and click Save.